It's loading now. I'll let you know.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm not used to hosting it.
I know, I know. That's why I even asked is I
Okay,
said,
we're live
hey,
right now. So hey everybody, how's it
cool.
going?
Hello, buddy.
Gonna go
This is Robert
gallery mode.
Hollis. This is my son, me and Matthew doing the Unlimited Wisdom podcast today. You never really know how much someone means and how much they
I'm
do.
getting some. Oh, never mind. We're good. We're good. We're good.
Okay. When Craig's not here, so now me and Matt are like, hey, what the hell are we doing? So
Yeah,
hi,
I
man. How
feel
you doing?
I'm doing great. I mean, I don't think I could be doing better. I don't know how things have ended up falling into the places they have for me, but like I wake up every single day with more opportunity than I had yesterday with what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I was up till like 2 a.m. last night. I shared some of that stuff with you guys or with the private. You guys will see it eventually, but like some of the AI stuff I was working on and I made a huge breakthrough with facial expressions and animation. Um, and today, I'm going to test it after we're done on animated characters to see if it transfers. But no, I had that. So I was up till 2 a.m. playing with that. Then I woke up this morning. I was on a meeting with this company I'm working with the AI stuff. It's on
Right.
that for like an hour and a half. And then just ate some ham and cheese hot pockets and got on with you. So that's my
Well,
day. But how's your day been?
my day's been really incredible every day. Every once in a while, life goes up and down, and I got some throwing some pretty crazy stuff, but it's like they're speed bumps for me. They're just slowing down, figuring out what to do, and then get over the speed bump and then step on the gas.
Yeah. Well, what do you feel like are some speed bumps right now for you, if you don't mind sharing? Because like I'll
Um,
share some of my own that I'm dealing with.
Yeah, I think that the more you lean into being the greatest version of yourself, it
Hmm.
just challenges you. It just really challenges you to learn stuff. It challenges you to make commitments to stuff that, like I really now want to go for 1 million subscribers on YouTube. And
Yes.
so
Speaking to you, hit the subscribe button. Sorry to interrupt you. If you're
yeah.
watching this and you haven't subscribed, please do. We got so much great stuff coming your way.
Yeah, and make
Um,
sure make sure that you subscribe to Matt's as well. You see our nice little plaque here.
oh
But
yeah,
one of
I'm
the
starting to
what
upload stuff myself. So
yeah, and so one of the things is it's pretty hilarious that you don't believe that you can do something. So then what you do is just make the baby steps to commit to doing it. And then the next thing you realize is that you got this plaque. Well,
right.
now now it's like, wow, there's a gold one that's above there. It's on my wall. And all of a sudden you just go, wow, there's a different version of yourself that goes from hardly no subscribers to 100,000 subscribers to thinking 10 times that and just really asking yourself, is it worth it? We'll mention this tomorrow on AMA, but we're going to start up Imaginators again and bring more value.
I was gonna say new and improved and such. Like it's hard not to talk about it right now. I should shut up.
No,
I'll
no,
I'll talk I'll talk about it tomorrow
you
when
know
we
what?
announce it.
You definitely can bring it up right now because I just know that there's a lot of people that missed it, man. When we stopped doing it, they just really missed it. So, it's
There's definitely a void in my week since we've gotten rid of it. You know what I mean? It's funny because like me and you, we're always like we throw the whole kitchen sink out type of
yeah,
deal. So like when
yeah,
we make a decision to try to do something new like YouTube, you're immediately like, okay, no longer doing Facebook Lives anymore. I'm just doing stuff on
right,
YouTube. And you make that decision, and then everyone's like, wait, I thought you've been for the last year and a half, you've done Facebook Lives every day. Where'd you go?
right.
And it's like, oh, now I'm over on YouTube. And it's interesting because we're capable of just being like, boom, 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 let's just move and stuff. And I think one of the things that I'm learning, especially, is like how to be better at translating the people that are following us from one place to the other without like losing what's going on, you know what I mean? Because I think we get so
Yeah.
hyped about whatever we're doing, um,
No, but
that yeah,
that is just straight out leadership. That's totally
true.
leadership. I think I always do this quote, of course, from Richard Branson. And Richard Branson, was one time just sitting someplace, and a journalist went up and asked him. He said, "Could you give me a couple of seconds?" And he said, "Sure." And he said, "Well, what is the key? What is the number one key to success?" And he says, "Without a doubt, it's wisdom. Wisdom is the key." And she goes, "How do you get wisdom?" And he says, "Make a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot of mistakes."
Yeah.
And so we hear this as a common theme. I think it's easier, Matt, to see it um, with like sports. I think there's this large group of people that are really, really excited about sports because we get to see their mistakes live time. I mean, just live time. And so, they make a mistake, they throw an interception, or they miss a gate when they're skiing, or they fall when they're skating. You look at anything else out there, and it's live time mistakes that we see. And that's why there's drama. That the reason that there's drama is we're watching real people just trying to do the best that they can do.
Right.
And sometimes we don't get to see that with acting, and acting and singing and other things that do with the arts, because we don't get to see how many times they had to do that take.
Yeah,
So
I mean that's one of those
you
biggest like
shared you shared you've been sharing a lot of AI stuff with me, and it's like I look at it from my standpoint, and it's like it's done. There's just no way it could get better or gooder than that. And you're looking at it with another eye of someone that's tried a bunch of versions that you learned from. See, I
yep.
don't call it mistakes. It's
No,
learning
it's iteration.
lessons.
Like that's most things in life. Like if you start to perceive your life more of you just iterating on yourself and going, I don't really like that too much. Let's change it over here that way. Like most of us are pretty anti-change, or a lot of people are, at least when it comes to themselves. Like they might be okay with change in certain areas, but like personal change is like, oh, you're no
Right.
longer going to do that one habit that you've done. It's like, okay. Like I've been there's this one YouTube channel that as I've been working, I've been like obsessed with lately. And it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea because
Right.
the guy that runs the channel can be pretty brutal, but it's called his name's Caleb Hammer, and he does like financial audits. So like his producers will
I
like,
watched a couple, man. He's like
yeah,
he is brutal.
brutal. So he'll like his producers will bring these people in with all of their stuff and you apply, and he doesn't look at any of the information or talk to these people at all till he like sits down with them. And so like when he's going through their finances and stuff, it blows your mind, guys, because it's exactly what you'd think, right? And some of us are
Right.
these people, which is okay, but that you learn from these things. But it's like, what the hell is this? You spent $380 at Best Buy. You have kids and you're 30, $40,000 in debt. And they're like, well, yeah, but my TV stopped working. I need a TV. And it's like, dude, you don't have money to pay your bills.
I need the biggest TV.
Exactly. And if I'm going to buy one, there was one that was 50% off, and I'm not going to not take the 50% off deal. So I
Mhm.
had to buy that one, right? You don't understand.
Right.
So I've been watching this channel a lot lately, and it's really like given me a lot of motivation. I'll tell you why. It's like watching certain reality shows, and my mom watches a lot of reality shows. Me and Hannah watch reality shows. On occasion, we can get you, Dad, to watch some reality shows.
Yeah, yeah.
But you realize pretty quickly when you watch them that it's like almost like there to make you feel better about your own life and
It's
decisions,
crazy. Yes.
where you're going like, oh man, like yeah, I made some dumb financial decisions in my life. Like there's electronics around me right now that I purchased that did not get the money out of them that I spent, right? I got excited about the idea of it. Or, in the realm that I'm in currently, you could buy a piece of technology and then in 2 months AI's replaced it,
Right.
right? Like I have
Right.
motion capture stuff, facial motion capture stuff that I purchased that the company purchased so I could do stuff in animation, and then within a month AI already had the ability to do that with just a camera, and you didn't need the mocap stuff. And then you're like, hey, that's $1,500 now. So do
Right.
you sell it? Who do you sell it to when everyone else now can just do it? So
Yeah, and So you can either lean into that because you said a lot of people don't want to do stuff, but what they really don't want to do is they just don't want to try. You
We
know what
can
I
fail
mean?
if you
They're,
try. Yeah.
yeah, I talked to a guy today. I won't embarrass him, but it's like I'm listening to this guy, and this is gonna sound like I'm bragging, okay, but it's not. And I said, so listen to me. When was the last time he asked me? He said, "Can I just talk to you on the phone for a little bit?" I said, "Sure." So I called him, and I don't hardly ever use my phone at all. And I called him and he's like, yeah, but what if this doesn't work? And I go, since we're doing the what if game, what if we get hit by a meteor? And he's going, that's funny. I go, is it? And he goes, well, if it happened, no, it wouldn't. And I said, do you know your if questions make me laugh? Because I go, when is the last time that someone with 37 years experience that has made $60 million helped 67 people make over $1 million? And they decided to give you a call. I said, do you get a lot of those calls? And I said, let's really talk about this. I love helping people. That's why Matt and I are on here now. And I said, let's say that you put in the 179. I said, I am really going to make a difference in my life with that $40 I get a couple weeks from now. That's
Yeah.
really going to alter and change my life. And he goes, when you say it that way, he says, I sound really stupid. And I said, yeah, because you're listening to yourself instead of somebody that you reached out to.
Mm.
So
Yep.
I connected with him February 20th, and he's still contemplating to consider to evaluate, wants to talk to his parakeet and dog. It's like,
Well,
it's
it's always
like,
it's like they sort themselves, like the
yeah.
difficulty. And that's, like now that it's so crazy because even being on these meetings and stuff, and we're both so honest on these, but it
Oh,
is really,
only way to
int
be.
yeah,
Only
it
way to
is
be.
really interesting stepping into this new realm as a true on true like business owner, like of my own, because
Yeah.
we've
Yeah.
started a
Yeah.
business together and I've always been able to lean on your expertise and not like I'm not still doing that. I ask him questions all the time about business stuff. But now that I'm starting my own company and my own business, it's under the umbrella of all of our stuff, but it's my own little AI endeavor, right? Um,
I'm willing to admit it's your own.
Oh yeah. Well, it's definitely I'm the only employee right now. So no, so like it's fun, but then at the same time, like I've never really had like full decision control over like what I'm doing. And like that aspect of it has really, really made it fun. And I think like YouTube, I've had to change and kick around what I'm doing over there too. Like for a while, I was like, okay, I'll just go by my real name, Matt Hollis, Matthew Hollis. I'll go by that. And I'm like in this community, and I'm surrounded by people, and I'm I'm a millennial, right?
Right.
Like every single person I know goes by some form of a screen name. I've had a screen name like all my life. People know me even in these AI communities by my screen name, not by my real name. But there's
Right.
some form of like, but then I get the title with Matthew Hollis. I get to have that title. But then I
Right.
take a step back and then I get to go, yeah, but I get the anonymity of not having my real name out there. I liked that better. So I just went and changed all my stuff over because
What's
I
your
was
what's your
like,
what's your what are you going by
variants.
now?
Yeah, I've gone by variants in video games and stuff for a really long time. It fits so perfectly with what I do now
Right.
because if you know anything about the word variance, it's like infinite possibilities, right?
Oh, cool.
Like things that are not consistent with the same median, the same mean thing consistently. So I feel like in my own way, I've constantly always been that way. And then on top of that, like now with generative AI tools and stuff, I mean, it fits so perfectly because that's kind of how they work,
Right.
right? Like it's just infinite variance of the exact of different things. You never get the same thing over and over again. It's always different. And I feel like I'm that way. So like that
Yeah,
As I've been doing stuff, it's like as I've been uploading more and watching my YouTube channel grow, I mean,
I'm
this is
impressed. I'm so proud of you. I really am proud of you.
thank you. Well, it's the first time that I've really focused on just marketing myself, like myself
Right,
ever. Even when I was on the meeting with those guys earlier, I'm going through and showing them some of the AI stuff because there was this account that one of the marketers there followed on Instagram.
right,
And he's like, this account has 1 million followers and stuff on Instagram, and he makes AI art. He's like, do you know him? I'm like, no, I don't. I know certain people in my circle, but it's more the
sure,
filmmaking
sure.
community. Um, and so he sends me his profile, and I look at it. And similar when I've seen certain movies, you immediately step back and you go, dude, I've been doing better stuff than this 5 months ago. What have I been doing? Why haven't I been posting this stuff? Why haven't I been
Right.
working on this aspect of it? Why have I been a secret agent, as you would say, right?
Yeah,
On my own life, in a sense, on my own
sure.
path. So as I've uploaded stuff and shared more, the amount of opportunities that have showed up and put themselves in my lap, and we're just getting started has slowly but surely taken away so much financial and mental stress from me, and even from like the thought of the future of my family with artificial
Right.
intelligence and stuff. What me and you are doing now is talking about Imaginators. If
Yes.
all this stuff wasn't going on, also while I'm moving, I don't think Imaginators would have been rebirthed in the new way that you guys will see it moving forward.
I agree. I totally, totally
And
agree.
it's going to be incredible because you're going to have the aspects of Robert Hollis that can help you figure out and imagine and believe again in yourself and find out what you want to do in this world when we're stepping into artificial intelligence, taking people's jobs and putting people more in a place of what do you want to do, not what do you
Right.
have to do. Our goal is to help you with that. So in Imaginators in the future, you'll be sitting down with Robert Hollis and he'll help you figure out what that is.
Yeah.
And then after that, I'm going to take it from there and show you with artificial intelligence and build you a game plan on how to go out and get exactly what you want. And I believe with AI, you kind of just have to not show up to
Right.
not accomplish it. All I've done is follow what it's told me to do as far as uploading my stuff. And I've gotten 17,000 views in 7 days. And I've gotten 35 subscribers. All I've done is
That's
posted 2 or 3 videos a day and they're
hey,
shorts.
hey,
So,
I remember that. I remember looking at 35 subscribers and going, "Holy cow, we're crushing it."
well, it feels so much better when it is 35
I
because it's a
know.
different feeling because it just feels like you're doubling your progress every day. And when you get to that
Yes.
100,000, it feels that you're only doubling when you've got 200,000. So 200,000, that's only double the amount of work you've already done. And
Right.
when you think of 1 million, you're 10xing your work. So it's like,
Well, it's when you're again. I was telling your mom this, Terry, my wife, is I said, sometimes I go back to the basics. I'm going to start doing YouTube videos on my brand new channel. I mean, brand new videos, and it's all going to be around how simple life really is. And a lot of people get mad when you seek out the Yodas of the world, right? And why people don't succeed is because of our thoughts and in this guy making it complicated for us, rah, rah, and it's just all this stuff. And I was telling Terry, I said, do you remember me ever talking about J. Paul Getty? And she goes, yeah, I've heard you on stage many times. And I said, do you know his basic statements? And she says, tell me again. And I said, first of all, he said, being fulfilled and successful in America is the easiest thing you'll ever do in your life. And when people hear that, they go, I don't believe that.
yeah, they get a
And he
little pissed
goes,
off
yeah. And
almost.
well, and he says, the reason it is because no one else believes that they can do it. No one else is trying. They won't try long enough to see any
Can I ask
results.
you a quick question since you brought that
Yeah,
up? What is true belief with that for you and in general? Because I feel like a lot of times, sometimes I get lost going like, do I really like what's the feeling, I guess? I guess I could almost describe this too because I'm in it too right
please.
now. But the feeling where you know you're just in the right place and that there aren't mistakes to be made because they're not even really mistakes. You just
No.
it's kind of like just that feeling. And how do you know that you got that? I don't know. And you're not
Well,
just
the first thought that
gaslighting
happened in
yourself into
my yeah,
believing
the
that.
first two thoughts that happened in my mind when you said that is, let's say that someone gave you a treasure map. Okay, the people that are going to look for it and find it are the people that believe the treasure is there.
Mm. No, that I
Now,
you're so
now,
good with
now,
those.
yeah. So now, here's the problem with that is while you're on that path, there's going to be things that you didn't know. Raiders of the Lost Ark popped in my head.
Yeah.
It's like I didn't know that I was going to set off this thing and this big boulder is chasing me. But it was his belief that he was looking for something and he knew that it was there. He knew
Mm.
that it was there. And then you find out other people are trying to steal it from you or get to it before you do. So it is all about feeling. You know that you know. Now, what gets in your mind, what a lot of people do is they get in their mind is they start saying, well, what if this is the wrong path? What if I go down and double down and put all my energy and all my thoughts into this? And what if it doesn't work? Now I'll bring you to a Thomas Edison thing.
Hmm.
People don't realize that if you go in with full belief into a motion of going after an imagination that you believe will there, every step that you take that others look as a failure, or that you were off track, or you doubled down on a path that you thought that it would work and it didn't, leads you to another one that will get you to where you need to go.
That is absolutely true. Like that's spot on because like I truthfully feel like certain things, even in my own, like the vibe that I have right now is almost like unstoppable. I almost feel manic. It's funny. That's a bad
No,
word,
that
but you know what I mean? Like it's like that mentality where you're like unbeatable, right?
right.
I feel like it's like the
You're,
Matrix
you're an
and I feel like
imaginator.
Neo.
You're a superhero.
Exactly. I feel like Neo, where it's like almost if something were, not only do I not think of like things going bad, and that's huge for me dealing with anxiety and all these things in my life. Not only do I not think of things going bad, but I think of things actively going well and they fucking do. And I
Yes.
feel like I'm in control of that in some
Yes.
way.
Yes. And here's the other one. You
I'm
don't
like, damn, I
fear.
wish they could do I'm trying to make this Western short right now called
Right.
Snake Eyes. Um, and I'm sitting there last night editing this together because I've got all these short films and I have to finish them and get them out, right? You're gonna see one after the other through March and stuff now that I'm moved in. But I'm sitting there and I'm going, am I really gonna have to hire actors or get actors for every single one of these? There's just no way AI can do these facial animations human-like enough. There's a weirdness in them enough
Yeah.
that I cannot use conversational dialogue without an actor's performance yet. It needs
Right.
to be motion captured. And I'm playing with things and I'm playing with things and then I'm on X because X is like where all these AI people are that are nerds and making all this code and all these things, right? And this person goes, "Hey, I have this new facial recognition thing that allows you to not only prompt for you could put a picture in, put an audio in, and then prompt for the characters' emotions. So if they're
Got it.
frightened, they give the performance frightened. So now we're just talking about directing again.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, if you're a George Lucas, do that with more intensity. You know, that was
Hmm.
his joke. That's all he was always say. But so now that that's the case, this thing comes out, and I'm up till 2 a.m. messing with it, and I'm shooting you guys over clips, and I'm like sitting there 2 a.m. You know, in between tired as hell and so not fully lucid, and I'm going, am I controlling this shit right now? This is weird. Because this was an issue that I was having 5 hours ago, and now it's not an issue all of a
Right.
sudden. Like that's such a weird feeling. But I feel like that's how the thing's working. So
Again, whether you want to call that the ether. I know a lot of people right now are calling it dark energy. I would
yeah.
probably just call it energy but it is the stuff that Science of Getting Rich talks about that just penetrates everything in the world.
Hmm.
It's a middle stuff between all the stuff that's actually doing some whipping around shit. You know what I mean? And you know, first time that I heard that if I impress a thought, which I could call imagination, if
Yeah.
I can put that imagination into it, that all of a sudden it just pops up. Now, here's what's really problem for people is they actually don't look for the signs that they thought about or they imagined. For me, I'm like, okay, golly, I wish that I would get this, this, and this. So I'll give you a neat example. Joel Eris, I send him my personal copy,
You
you
were
know,
saying that, yeah.
yeah. And my other personal copy went to Joshua Darmella
And
and
personal copy of The Greatest Miracle in the World
greatest miracle in the world, right? And so,
by Og Mandino, by the way, guys.
right. And so I said to myself, wouldn't it be cool? That's a neat way of saying it. Wouldn't it be cool? Wouldn't it be
It's
nice?
always
Wouldn't
good
it
to
be
start
exciting?
a
Yeah.
sentence with wouldn't it be
And
cool?
if I could actually find an original of the first book that came out, right?
Oh yeah.
And so I'm talking to Mary Velchek, helping her hook everything up for her trading platform. And she goes, "Oh, by the way," she says, "I'm sending this to you." And she holds it up. I go,
Yeah.
"What is that?" And she goes, "Do you know what it is?" And I said, "I've seen pictures of it." And she said, "You just done so much for me. I bought this for you." And I was going like, "That's not cheap."
No, of course not.
And so,
That's
I'm
that's a
going
big
like,
book in a lot of people's
so I
lives.
tell your mom all the time. I tell your mom all the time. I think I've said this to you. If there's any of me beating myself up anymore, it's usually because I'm not putting enough imagination into the ether, into the energy. Because I'm going like, if I had to go back to my younger self, that would be the thing I would say, dude. Your imagination is so fucking small.
Yeah.
It's just so small. And the other thing that that I told your mom about, Terry, is so when he says, being successful is very, very simple. Being happy and fulfilled is very, very simple. And the other one is people always ask, so well, I don't understand. And here's where people miss it. And he says, all you need to do is find what people want. Ask them what they want. That's all you got to do. And if you give it to them and it feels valuable, not if it's valuable, if it feels valuable to them, they will exchange money and currency for that feeling or that value. Now, if all of you listen to that sentence very, very closely, you'll now understand why some of the people you know or heard of do some of the stupidest shit you've ever heard in your life. Because it's like, oh my God, who would go to an opera? I can guarantee you, people that go to the opera, they enjoy it, they love it, they go all the time. They have a bucket list of opera singers they would like to see. As AI continues to get better and better, there's going to be people that are actually going to do um, visual.
Like
Uh,
VR
yeah,
concerts.
they're going to do VR, and they're also going to do some of the best opera singers that are no longer with us actually singing that opera, and it's like Tom all the time reaches out to me. He's an opera singer, and
Hmm.
he's an Imaginators, and every birthday that guy sings "Happy Birthday" for me,
Oh
and
man.
my eyes well up. My eyes well up, and all my hair stands on my body, and I'm going, who has ever had an opera singer sing "Happy
It's
Birthday"
such
to
a,
you?
I mean, that's the thing is like it's such a weird world we live in, but when you like
Right.
actually open yourself up, going back to like what you were saying, like just not having that resistance and having that flow to imagination, the things that can happen in your life are not things you predict.
No. And
You know,
here's
I
the other part about
yeah.
imagination where I see you, Matt, is as you're willing to be brave enough to step into your imagination and just start clicking at it, all of a sudden everything comes to you and it's bigger than you even imagined.
Yeah.
Everything that I've ever imagined in my life became way bigger. And as I stepped into it, I was like, I always say this funny thing is, you walk into a tunnel and what you're looking for, is a light at the end of the tunnel, and you just hope it's not a freight train.
Well, it's funny too because like all of us live in the same day and age, right? So I think sometimes because we all do this, I'm sure you've done this with dad, with your parents or other people that have been older than you, but you get to that certain age and you think of what your parents were doing when they were the same age you are now.
Ah,
Because especially when you become an adult and you start getting older, I'm 33, about to have my first child. So now I'm like looking at my dad, you, and I'm going, what were you doing when you were 33? You had me. So like what was your life like? What were you up to? And then it takes it like you're saying, exactly like you're saying. How could you have predicted the life that you have now then at 33?
no way.
Because you couldn't
Nor
even have predicted the internet or what we're doing right now. You know what I mean? So
nor
it's
could
like
I,
that's the
nor
hard
could
part.
in every area of my life. I like the best chapters of the best books say, the best mentors say, is I grossly underestimated my abilities.
Yeah,
Grossly.
the impact that I've seen you make because of the internet and then after that social media, imagine the impact difference that would have been had if those things didn't exist. I mean, it's not that you wouldn't have had the impact, but you definitely wouldn't have had the lifestyle with it.
No
You know what
way.
I mean? You had been traveling all over the place to get that same impact. And
10
now
countries, 10 countries in 10
you've
days
done it.
to
Yeah.
yeah, to
Now
talk to.
you can be snowed in and do 5 webinars and make money. So
Now we have 1.7 or 1.8 million views on our YouTube channels, and
I
it's like,
know.
it is really, really, really true. It's like, again, when people see certain things happen too, it's like, the things that are happening. I'm watching the world, and here's a saying that's going to be difficult for everybody, but if they just constantly keep thinking this way, your life will change in every area. It's like instead of saying I have to, if you said I get to.
Yeah.
So this is not happening to me. This is happening for me. And it's just this little
That shift
tweak.
is, I think, what you're talking about that happened in my life. Like
Yeah.
it just, and
I
it's not
seen it.
that
I
like,
watched it happen to you.
yeah, it's not that I'm like, I feel like sometimes I'll get myself to feel like I have control, but I think that that's a bad thought to have because like accepting that you don't is part of the flow, right? Like accepting and letting things go where they're supposed to.
Yeah.
Um, as they'd say, what's his name? He'd say, happy little accidents. Bob Ross.
One from the nether to another and to another.
Yeah, and it feels
And
that way.
here's something too that, Matt, I'd like to ask you a question, right?
Uh-oh.
Um there's because I know that you're having communications with your older brother.
Yeah, we're working together.
Right. If someone believes that change happens over a long period of time,
Yeah.
or is it that all of a sudden you make the belief in yourself that it's possible and then it happens instantaneously?
Yeah,
Because
it feels yeah.
you and I know where Junior was 2 years and a couple of months ago.
Yeah. I mean, where I was 2 years and a couple of months ago too.
You know,
Like
so
yeah.
he's bold enough, so I'm not telling on him. But 2 years and 2 months ago, he got an ultimatum from his wife that if he didn't go to rehab, she was leaving him.
Yeah,
And
I've had ultimatums in my life like that.
yeah, and then all of a sudden he does that, but this time he believes in it. And then I get to see where he is today. And I'm going like,
Right.
wow, it just like it's
And
fun
he's
for me as a father to
yes,
watch
and
him and you go through this. I hear
yeah,
your voice, I feel your energy, I see the creation stuff that you're doing, Matt. And when Ezra gets to a certain age, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
yeah,
It's like, man, just walk around with the biggest shit eating grin on your face, just going, "What's happening?" And you're like, "Well, I'm just really happy. I'm proud of my son. What did he do? He took a step.
right. It
He
starts
said,
there, and I think
he
that
said,
that's
he
part of it,
said,
though.
Dad. He looked at you in the
Uh-huh.
eyes, and his eyes lit up, and he went, Dad. And you're like, "Oh, what's happening to me?"
It's gonna be intense because I also know that there's gonna be so much that's gonna come out of me on a day-to-day basis, um, creatively and emotionally from him.
Totally.
You know what I
I,
mean?
you're, you
It's
you
gonna
can't
change the way I do
imagine it right
everything.
now. You can't imagine it right now, but you watching him learn and how everything is just going into that, little computer he's got called a brain. And
Yep.
there was one of the people were saying the biggest, fastest TikTok. They go through these little things, these viral videos.
Hmm.
Just cracks my ass up. And it was people doing videos of their young baby, boy and girl, the first time that they seen a Hitachi grill when they make
Oh,
the
the hibachi.
the kibachi when they're
Yeah.
doing the volcano. Can you imagine a mind seeing that for a first time as a child, and all of a sudden, when the fire goes off, and they're like,
Yeah. I'm telling you what, too. It's like, the amount of stuff that's happened in our lives and my life and your life with technology, like Ezra
right?
is gonna see such an extreme version of that even sped up in his
Yeah,
lifetime.
sure.
When me and you sit down with him and I'm in my 40s and you're in your 70s and he's a little older, so we can have these conversations with him. Um, it's going to be a very weird conversation to talk about the shit that we're doing now,
Yeah,
10 years from now.
yeah. And it's
So,
you're going to also, as a parent, you get older, you understand where right now there's a progressive. His name is Dr. Rick, and
mhm.
they're progressive commercials, Matt. And all
Okay.
he does, he's a life coach, and all he's trying to do is get brand new homeowners and brand new people to stop acting like their parents. It's the funniest stuff in the world. He's
Mhm.
like, okay, we're going to go to a store. No one's going to talk about the parking lot. Stop yourself from talking about the
Oh no.
parking lot. And as soon as they get out, the guy's going, man, there's a lot of cars here. And he's like,
I do the same
geez,
thing. It's
And-
funny because like when we made the decision to move where we are right now,
right.
right? Every single time I have to go back to like Orange County or LA, it's like a nightmare because I'm so used to not having all that traffic and people all over me anymore.
Right.
It's
The
like, oh,
weather,
God.
the weather, the traffic. And
Yeah.
so the last one that I see, because they keep doing new versions of it, of course, because it's
Right.
freaking funnier in hell. And the
I
last
bet you it's
version I
working too
seen,
because we remember it. We both seen
yeah.
it. So,
So what's so funny is he's got four guys in the backyard. And he goes, listen, this is what we're going to do. Jim has never started a fire in the fire pit before. And you know what we got to do? You three guys can't say anything. They just got So he's like, guy grabs a piece of wood. The guy's going, you're stacking it wrong. You need to stack it this way. And the
uh,
other guy's going, no, you got to put the little wood down underneath it, right? And then he pulls this, lighter fluid out, right? And the
mhm.
guy goes, don't you understand that people create fire? Well, how did the caveman do it? It's like,
It
it
was a
was,
lot more of a pain in the ass for them,
oh yeah,
probably.
but we've all been at some kind of gathering where you see a bunch of guys have a bunch of different ways of doing something. You know what
Yes,
I mean?
well, and it's like a joke because and I'm sure Curb has done. I know Curb has done this, but it's like like oh yeah, they did it with I think it was the pickle jar, right? Like if
Hmm.
one guy's trying to get the pickle jar open, he's like, I can't get it. You'll have a line of dudes like show up trying to get that shit open, and that's just like how men work for some reason.
They
And
got to
you'll
fix
see it
something.
here. There's this
They
guy.
got to fix something. They're problem solvers.
Yeah, I'm no longer in an apartment, so like I can see my neighbors, and I'll see my neighbor was cutting down his tree or trimming his tree the other day, and then before you know it, there's two or three other guy neighbors out there sitting watching him cut the tree, talking to him about it. I'm like, where these dudes come from, man? But you know what I'm
And then
talking about.
and then the other part of it, we'll go to something else. The other part of
Yeah.
it is he walks out and there's this lady talking to another lady in the middle of the street in her car. And then he just comes out of nowhere and he goes, "Did you have to stop her in the middle of the road to ask her this question?" And she goes, "No, I guess it could have waited." And then a car pulls up behind that one. And what does she do? Go around. And just like, oh my
I
God.
can't. So like when we used to live, when we were fortunate enough to live in Newport Coast for that time that we did. And my older brother, Robert Hollis Jr., he lived like on Newport Beach at that
Yeah,
time. He had an apartment like right on the beach, right? Um, so what we would do is I would drive down there with my younger brother and we go visit him, right? Like we'd go out and have just spend the day down there, you know what I
right.
mean? And it was fun because like we had a place to stay and like we weren't that far away, so it was great. Um, except my parents at that moment in time only had SUV vehicles and they were the big ones. My mom doesn't like the small SUVs. She wants like the ESVs, right? Like the huge ones. So, if you know anything about Newport Beach and you know anything about the parking at Newport Beach, especially on the weekends, it's a nightmare and it's normally like either you get really lucky and find a parking lot that has a spot or you just wait for someone to be leaving in a spot that's a parallel park spot. It's like a nightmare situation that I would actively not want to go down there. I would be like, come pick us up or some shit. You know what I mean? Just because of how bad the parking is. So I get that. It's totally relatable. Because every time
so
I go down
you
there, I
so
still
you
think of those times.
so you stop living your life. You stop living your life because my God, do you know how hard it is to park down there?
And people do exactly what you're saying. They'll see their friend
Yeah,
because Newport, even though they're all beach cities and they're heavy tourist areas in the summertime, they're also very like local, right? Like a lot of people know
right.
each other. So you'll see people walking on the street and they'll be like, "Hey, Jim, Joe, Bob, how's your day going?" And they'll like stop on their motorcycle or whatever and have a conversation. And do you what you're saying? Go around, and you're like, "Dude, the lanes are like this. What do you mean?" And there's cars on both sides of the street. People walking across, not at the
Matt,
crosswalks.
it just popped in my mind as we
Yeah.
were just having this funny conversation. Um, See, that's also exactly the way it is when you step into a different area of your life. Again, constantly coming up with excuses why you shouldn't take the baby steps.
Yeah. Now I don't think about parking in Newport Beach because there's always parking for me in Newport Beach.
Yeah. And it's like so when you're looking at the new stuff that you're going to do, oh, here's a great point, Matt. I want to bring this up because you've talked to me and your mom, Terry, about this. Is when you first step into doing something that really is new and no one else is doing it. Like, how many raving fans do you have? And also, how many people, when you're doing your creation, are just, oh my God, just so into it? Or do you find yourself every time you post something or you show something to someone, they go, I don't get it. This seems like a waste of time. Or don't you know AI is going to end the world? Talk a little bit
I
about that
yeah, I
because
face mostly since I started posting and stuff, you face like and this is something that has existed with every new art form. It's not I grew up with video games.
it's in
Yeah,
everything. Keep going.
I've heard my entire life growing up with video games that video games are not an art form and that you can't tell great stories in video games and that all this isn't possible. And then I slowly but surely watched the video game industry eclipse the film industry and television industry by 3x. And that happened because there was a group of old filmmakers and people that went, there's no way you can do this in this medium. And then there was a bunch of young people that said, I'll show you that you can. And now
Yeah.
guess what? Now HBO's best show, The Last of Us, that is about to be back on, that won all these Emmys and everything, is based off of a video game story. So now it's going the
Holy
opposite
cow.
direction. And that's what ends up happening. So I'm watching that happen with AI. Back in the day, all filmmakers, all the people used to look at video games and go, that's for kids, you can't do. And they still do that on animation. I'll watch
Right.
someone sit at the Oscars. I'll watch Jimmy Kimmel host the Oscars not too long ago. Not the last one, but a few ago. And he goes, like, next up is best animated feature film. The part of the ballot that you all let your kids pick which movie. And it's funny because you have hundreds of people, thousands of people that are interested in animation, all of these things. Animation is massive worldwide, especially
Yeah.
mature animation. Go on Netflix and look at all of the, not just the anime shows, but animated adult shows like BoJack Horseman and all these things that now exist. Animation is growing and AI helps with that. So I think what you're seeing a lot right now is I get a lot of pushback from people going, why didn't you just hire people? Like you have millions just sitting around to hire people. Or like every idea that you have warrants that, half of the time I think a lot of people are disconnected with the fact that you can have an idea and create something now. And you don't just have to let that idea go and
Right.
go, is it worth sitting down, writing a script, getting 50 people together, getting millions of dollars to shoot this? Like that all has to come into your mind before. It really doesn't anymore. But
Right.
a lot of people have a problem with that because the ease of use of these tools gives anyone the ability, just like YouTube, to subvert every single avenue that's been created to stop people from getting to the top before it.
Right.
So just like filmmaking, just like television, they've hated YouTube and social media. We call this old media, right? They hate new media because, they're not important, they're not serious, they're not all these things. Okay, we just saw with the last election and all these other things how wrong they really are. Old media is a waste
Right.
of time. New media has eclipsed old media. No one gives a shit about old media anymore.
Right.
That's going to happen with AI again in the film industry, in the video game industry, with every one of those industries. I don't see it as a replacement for those industries. I see it no different than keyframing or anything else. It's
True.
a director's area. If you wanted to animate something back in the day, there was a whole group of people that would have said, sit down and learn how to draw and draw each frame and then put
Right.
them all together and animate them like Walt Disney and them used to do. Then computers got invented and Pixar saw this technology and they started making these small, can you imagine, 5 to 20 second short films. Oh my God,
Yeah.
imagine that with the technology. And
Bound.
why did they do that? Well, because the technology wasn't good enough to make the big stories they had thought of yet,
Right.
but they wanted to keep sharp and keep making things. So they made small things with the technology. A large group of people went, not only does this look like shit in comparison to hand drawn animation, I don't think this is ever going to get rid of hand drawn animation.
Right.
Tell me the last hand drawn animation movie you've seen. Even the ones that look hand drawn are keyframe animated in a computer.
Right.
So that happened, and there was a large group of people that pushed back at the computer CGI, computer generative VFX people. You still see this even in film. Oh, this film was shot with practical effects. We didn't use VFX on any of this. They're all puppets now. What are you talking
Yeah.
about? We've gone back to making all the aliens are puppets. It's like then you watch the VFX pass and it's one puppet and 40 VFX shots that went over it to make it look real.
Right.
And that's the truth. People don't want to admit it, but that's the truth of where it is. Big ideas require these tools to make. So
Right.
that would be my spiel. A lot of people, what I get personally is probably it's leaning more in 50-50. Months ago, it wasn't that
Cool.
way. But I'd say 50% of the time, I'm getting positive stuff. And normally it's like, if I look at a short and you see the likes and the views are great and the engagement is great on it. But then the only comments you get are, this is AI slop. This is a piece of shit. They didn't even take the time to like think about how someone made it,
No.
or they just assume that
No.
you just typed a bunch of stuff in the computer and made it and then posted it, right?
Right.
That's not how it works, at least not the way that I do it. And that's why, because I
Right.
like these tools. I like having fun with it.
Yeah, because
So
you
I'm gonna have
sent
to get
me
over that hurdle.
you
So
sent me that AI that AI about the Bible stories. If the Bible was a trailer, gee,
Yep. 1 million views in nine
it's
days.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, in what, 8 months?
And you can ask yourself, man, I've said this a million, or I've said this to Hannah because I was like, I'm not really religious, but I find the fact that we don't have like a film about like the book of Revelations like that put on film, like in an epic Lord of the Rings type way.
Yes, yes.
And it's like, well,
Because
we
they're
can't do
still
that because
stories.
on
They're
one hand, well, I mean, on one hand, we don't want to offend people. On the other hand, some people believe this is going to really happen. So it's also scary to a group of people.
right,
So let's not put the money in. You know how much money it'd take $100 million to do these shots
right.
and stuff. AI exists. Now some dude in his house, probably somewhere, is going to make those stories into Bible stories because he's taken the time to learn how to use the tools like me. He might not be writing them himself, but he's telling the stories and directing them.
Right.
That's what Scorsese does. He doesn't write scripts. So not everyone's going to take it the
And
Tarantino
you
way
and
and
I
like write it
also,
and direct it.
you
But
and I for years, because you love storytelling, you and I have always gravitated sort of these small short stories that have just such a
well,
powerful,
we're going to have
so
some come out on this
you
channel too.
say it, you say the story, and it still has massive impact. And the one that popped in my head while we're talking is that, again, you can make it as big or grandiose as you want, but the premise of the story is very simple, where a guy a guy gets lost, talks to a farmer, needs direction, and the very first thing that he says to the guy is, man, your barns, your fence, your home, the equipment that you got. He's going like, this is the perfect farm. He's like, everything's in a roll, everything's taken care of, everything looks awesome. And the farmer looks and says, well, thank you very much. He says, man, you got to really give a lot of glory to God.
Mm,
And he
yeah.
goes, yeah. He said, but you should have seen what it looked like when God had it all by himself.
I mean, that's going to be the world too without humans being interactive with artificial intelligence. And I was talking about that even in the meeting because, like, I'm going over all this shit and I'm showing them like the shots because their initial questions, because they want to do it too. They want to use these tools. Like, some people see what I'm doing and you can see it in their eyes. It's not just connecting to, oh, I can make money off this. It's connecting to that imagination part of them that's
Amen.
going, I could actually make that music video I've always wanted to make now.
Absolutely. You did
I could
that.
actually write that book I've always wanted to do now.
You did that video for me with Jesus giving me a hug.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I got like probably 50 messages out. What software are you using? And
Oh, I was
and
gonna make a
and
video on how to
and,
do that.
and
I don't know. I
yeah,
forgot.
can you do one for me? I'll pay you any amount of money to do one for me. And I said, hey, I didn't do it. I said someone
Yeah.
did it for me. And the only reason that I said someone did it is not to have a bunch of people reach out to you and go, Matt, can you
Oh,
create?
if they reached out to me, here's the thing. I'm now so good at this because I do get a lot of messages about this stuff. Um, Listen, just like I grew up with you. You taught me really how to sort people and
Yeah,
like make sure that my time isn't wasted as much other than with people that are serious. I have, if someone reaches out to me and goes, man, this is exciting, I'd love to do this. I immediately go, great. Here's my site. I have a whole set of resources. There's a bunch of videos there that you could follow to learn. Start going through that process. Send me some of the stuff that you've made and we'll go from there.
yeah,
And then they never messaged me back. And the truth of the matter is that they were excited at the possibility, but they wanted me to do it. And I'm not going to do it for
right.
them. At least
There's
not for free. You know what I mean?
it's the
So,
thing that we talked with Mr. Beast. He actually has a video on his YouTube channel, and he says, "Listen, everybody asks me, how do you make millions of dollars from your YouTube channel?" And he goes, "Very simple. Reach out to me with your YouTube channel after you've done your first 100 videos."
yeah.
Because he knows that 99.999% of the people are not going to do it because
Yeah.
I don't
So
look
true.
good. I don't do this. I sound stupid. I don't know what I'm doing. And it cracks me up that people just don't realize that anybody that's doing anything at one time didn't know how.
Yeah, I think like it does help significantly that like I'm there's been certain pockets of time where there's been people that I've admired like a lot in the career that I want to do, like filmmaking and animation. I've watched these people and I've grown up admiring them. I've read their books about their lives and the things that they've done and how they've done it. To have a pocket in time exist for me to be one of those people is so exciting. And these people that I'm talking about are like Steve Jobs, John Lasseter, and Walt Disney. If you read like their stories, the time at which Walt Disney Animation and the sacrifices and the things that he took place are probably the same things I'm going to have to do through this process. Building it out, continuing with my imagination. If I wanted to do something that people said was impossible, like a theme park, just do it.
Hmm.
No one, people have told him that his whole life. Stop me
Yep.
now. You know what I mean? I was watching this thing on animatronics that they had, the Imagineers made for Disneyland, and how far ahead of technology, even in other spaces, they were because their imaginations were there, right? They weren't
Right.
making stuff to become weapons to kill people. They were making stuff to excite children and families.
Yeah.
So then they're like, how could we get this effect to work and look realistic? And it's crazy when you think about it that way. And
Didn't
that's
didn't you
the
didn't
area
you
that I
tell
feel in
me
right
didn't
now.
you tell me the story that when the guy that created Avatar, as he was doing
James
it,
Cameron.
the things that he needed to complete the film weren't invented yet.
Yeah, he supposedly he said he had wrote the script or had the idea for Avatar like when he made Titanic, so 1999, 1998. Um and at that time they just didn't have the motion capture technology, so a couple
Right.
years go by and then this couple set of films called the Lord of the Rings trilogy comes out and he sees Gollum in the Lord of the Rings trilogy with the motion capture. And that was the first time that he went, okay, I think now we can have a CG character have human emotions because we can capture
Yeah.
human emotions and put them on the characters. And then that's
Right.
when he started the process. He still had to invent things that had never been made. And he had to do that for the last one too because those cameras weren't made for water, shot it in water. And I want to be that same way with my career. It's
Yeah.
almost like every single new idea that takes place needs to. That's why I sent you that house with all that land. I need space because it's like, if I need to build out a studio space where I can have 10 actors run around and fight
Right.
each other so I can have a battle scene, I need that. And I
Yep.
need to have, it's funny, I was joking about this with them on the call, but I'm like, I need to not have HOA tell me I can't do that. I can't live in Orange County or LA and do that. I can buy a huge group of land out here in Temecula.
Right.
I just fly people into the airport, man. It's a 30-minute flight from LA. Less
Yep.
probably. So
Yeah, well, this has been a good podcast. I know that you and
I
I know that you and
yeah.
I can get on here and talk forever. But hi to Craig and Sue. I hope you guys are having a great vacation, and hi to all the people that are watching this live or recorded. But just find a way to believe in yourself and plug in. And if I could give anybody any kind of things that would get you into action again is until you get your imagination, plug into other people that are creating their imagination because it is inspiring. It's inspiring. People all the time go, "Well, I don't have a purpose. I don't have a goal. I don't have a passion in my life." Find someone that does and help them make their stuff happen, and you'll catch it yourself. You'll catch it yourself. And it's so funny to close out, Matt. It's like I know a lot of people. I'm just that way. But your mom and I watched all the 6 seasons and 20 episodes of seasons of the Vikings.
Mhm.
And I believe that's on Netflix or whatever.
It's
But
FX, I think,
but
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 it's probably all
anybody,
on Netflix.
yeah, anybody that's really really good at writing stories write the common things in all the stories. And
Hmm.
so there's so many meanings and stuff that happens. And there's a lot of battle scenes in it. And what I think I love the most is that you can see what would happen to everybody that watches this is trying to do something different. And, they use this one kid and it's not stealing anything. But you could tell that just like a lot of kids throughout the world, they don't know a purpose or a passion and they join the military, right? And then the next thing you know is you can see how young this kid is. And, they're standing in the middle of a field surrounded by forest. And all the kid says to these other soldiers is he goes, man, when you look at all those trees in the forest, he says it's hard to imagine all the stuff that's in there. And the guy goes, what are you imagining? And he says, I'd rather not because it's scary. Because he wasn't talking about animals. He was
Mhm.
talking that he knew the Vikings were probably
Yeah.
in and that they're
Be glad
coming
that we're
out
living
and
in the times we are right now.
yeah,
Because it's like, man,
and
shit's
they could
scary, but
yeah,
that's
and they
scary.
could come out at any moment. And in the midst of that character just being scared about the unknown. He
Mhm.
just was scared of the unknown. And the people that have been in battles before, including the king, come up to him and they go, hey, listen, everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be fine. That doesn't stop you from being scared. So they can tell you, hey, this too will pass, no problem. Don't worry about it. And I'm just like, wow. And so it's pretty interesting at the end of the movie what this young kid does. Because it was like, if no one else is going to do it, I'm going to do it. And then
Mhm.
everybody stood around and went, why didn't I think about that? That's so freaking easy. That is so easy. And it like whatever he did, I'm not giving it away, but whatever he did immediately stopped the war. Just the war was stopped.
I
And
feel like
so
that's, when you read through history and stuff, you find pretty quickly the people that rose to the top always were not playing by the rule book that was written
no.
before them. Like
No,
that's
they
the
were
thing.
just brave and they came up with an idea and maybe someone told them down the line, which is another character in it, is just to have one person say, listen, they're not going to beat your strategy. It doesn't make a difference. You got to think outside the box, where that phrase comes from. The worst phrase in the world, the most dangerous phrase in the world is this is the way it's always been done. This is the way people do stuff. And it's like, I think my post today was like, look at what everyone's doing and don't do that.
Hmm. I mean, that's exactly what I'm doing right now. Like it feels that way. So like
Yeah.
I truthfully I feel like we're both doing that.
Yeah.
So let's all go out and do those things. Thank you so much, Dad. Love and
Thank you,
appreciate
Matt.
you.
I
This has
love and
been so much
appreciate you.
fun. We'll be back next week with another podcast. Hopefully, Craig will be back. I believe he will be. So you'll have the whole gang back together. We'll be here talking about something, and that will be noon Pacific time. So 12 p.m. Pacific time on on Friday. Tomorrow, Saturday, we have the AMA with Robert Hollis. I don't know what side he's on, but he's on one of these sides. You can ask him any questions. It's at 12 p.m. Pacific time tomorrow on Saturday. And we do have some big announcements, like we said, as
Yeah.
far as the Imaginator stuff and stuff goes. That's going to be announced there at that AMA too. So, with that said,
And
love and
a
appreciate.
lot of people might have seen. Thanks for the announcements, Matt. A lot of
Yeah.
people seen we might have had Matty Thayer on here, a new super affiliate, a guy that's been involved in the industry. We'll get him on here as soon as he's available.
He's
So
on vacation, right? I think we
yeah,
misscheduled it a little bit on
I
our
know for a
side. So,
fact. I know for a fact that I probably just misunderstood him.
hey, I think this was meant to happen the way that it was today
Yeah,
because Craig
yeah.
wasn't here. And it was just meant to be me and you since you and Craig already got yours when I was moving last week. So,
Well, I love you, my son.
love and appreciate you.
I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. Give Hannah a
Proud
hug
of
and kiss
us. Proud of you.
and pet my granddaughter and my grandson Rue and
Will do. He's laying right here looking at me right
the
now.
the
So,
the Korgs. Yeah, the mega
exactly.
Korg. Yeah.
Well, we'll do. Well, love you guys. Appreciate
Love
you
you too.
guys. Thanks for